Hello guys, welcome to my channel Lucid Fanfic, and if you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out on our latest videos. So be sure to stick around until the end, and let's get started. Quirkless, freak, loser, waste of space. These are only a fraction of words I heard all my life since I was 4 old, because that was the day I found out I was quirkless, and in this world, 80% of the population has some sort of superpower that we call quirks, and 20% is quirkless, which means you are no better than trash. It wouldn't be so bad if they only insulted me, but of course, that wasn't the case. Along with insults, I would get beaten to a pulp by none other than my twin sister, and I used to be friends with the Bakugo and Todoroki twins. I don't own these pictures. These 5 are the reasons for my life being total trash. Ever since I got diagnosed as quirkless, I became their punching bag and led other students into doing the same. You would think the teachers would stop this, but no, they let it happen, acting as if it wasn't happening. It's no better at home. I get in trouble for things I did not do by my so-called father Tashinori Yagi, all because my sister tells him lies. Some parents ask for proof of the accusations, but not him. He thinks his little princess's word is the truth. So far, the only person who treated me with any kindness was my mom, Inko Midoriya. She is the CEO of a corporation that helps people who lost their homes in villain attacks or natural disasters. I refuse to call her a Yagi. She deserves respect rather than being compared to those other two. Even though she is not around most of the time, she would always spend some time with me whenever she got a chance. I was still a baby when my real father, Hisashi Midoriya, passed. My mom met Yagi 3 years later and remarried. Then there was my uncle Aizawa, who worked at UA. I don't get to see him very much, though. I wish she never met Yagi. He doesn't see me as anything, much less a person. Every time we would eat, there would always be enough food for him and his princess. He would even give the food my mom would prepare for me and give it to her. I was going to tell him that was my food, but what would be the point? It's not like he would listen anyway to anything I say. The only way I could eat was if there were leftovers in the trash. Anyway, one day at middle school, the teacher walked in with a stack of papers in his hands, saying it was time to choose what we wanted to be when we grew up, but threw the papers into the air and saying we all wanted to be heroes. "Hey, Tech, doesn't compare me and my gang to these extras," said Bakugo as he stood up on his desk with a smirk on his face. "Right, Bakugo, you and your friend are getting into UA," said the teacher. "That's right, these extras are just going to be some D-list sidekicks," said Katsumi, as she placed her elbow on her brother's shoulder. "Oh, that reminds me, Izuku, didn't you also want to go to UA?" said his teacher with a smirk on his face. The entire classroom was silent until everyone was laughing and pointing at him. "Deku!" screams Bakugo as he goes to Izuku's desk and uses his quirk to create an explosion on his desk, which causes Izuku to fall to the ground. "Didn't I tell you not to get your sorry quirkless bum into UA?" yelled Bakugo as he grabbed Izuku by his collar, picking him up off the floor. "All right, Bakugo, that's enough. You can continue playing with Izuku after class," said the homeroom teacher. "TCH, fine, this isn't over yet, Deku," said Bakugo as he threw Izuku back to the floor. Izuku then got back up and went back to his desk. Then class continued as if nothing happened. "Take this, you stupid Deku," said Bakugo as he sent an explosion to Izuku's stomach, causing him to curl on the floor in pain. Then his sister used her quirk and lifted him into the air. After school was over, Izumi and her gang decided to teach me a lesson. "This is what you get for not knowing your place, Deku," said Katsumi. "This could have all been avoided if you had stopped this ridiculous idea of being a hero," said Shota. Izumi then threw him towards the wall with her quirk. "I can't believe that we are siblings. You are an embarrassment to the Yagi name. I hate to have blood ties with you. Come on, guys, let's go. And if you want to have a quirk, then just take a swan dive off the roof and pray for a quirk in the next life. Please, brother, that is enough. Just give up so all of this can end and things can go back to what they used to be," said Izumi as she and her gang left Izuku, who was trying to get up with what little strength he had, eventually get up and left the school. Skipping. When he meets All Might and Slime Insistent, we all know what happens. "Those stupid idiots. They chewed me out because I was doing their job. They were doing nothing. We have to wait for someone with the right quirk, my arse," said Izuku with an irritated voice. Then, as Izuku was about to turn the corner, he saw Izumi and her gang talking to All Might. He was about to leave, but his curiosity got the better of him and decided to stay and listen. Time skip I just want to finish this first part, so sorry if I skip your favorite parts. Wait, why not give the quirk to Izuku dad? Asked Izumi, to which All Might responded. I don't believe he has the potential to wield this quirk like I believe you will, and what your brother did was reckless. He could have gotten hurt, or worse, that was unbecoming of a hero, said All Might. Izumi then thought about it. If I get my dad's quirk, that means I can better protect my brother. All right, Dad, I expect your quirk, said Izumi with a smile on her face. Excellent, we will start your training tomorrow, and your friend is welcome to tag along as well, said Alight. Okay, so exactly how do I get your quirk? Izumi asked her father. You must ingest a piece of my DNA like a strand of my hair, said All Might. I think I'm going to be sick, replied Izumi, as she was holding her stomach. Not yet, you must first strengthen your body to handle this quirk. That is why we're going to train before you and your friend go to UA. Now let's go home and celebrate, replied All Might as they went back towards their home. As they were leaving, Izuku was hearing the whole conversation around the corner. He was filled with sadness. Izuku then ran as fast as his legs could take him, not even knowing where he was running. Despite his body not recovering from the beating he had taken earlier in the day, he tripped on a bottle and fell on the ground. When he got up and looked at his surroundings, he realized that he was at the municipal beach, a once great place to enjoy some fun in the sun, only to be reduced to a waste dump. He was filled with rage for all the times he had been mocked, humiliated, and treated as a nobody. Izuku needed to vent out his anger. He then spotted a broken-down refrigerator and started hitting it over and over again. Soon Izuku's vital fluid started to paint the refrigerator door red with how much he had been punching it with so much force. I will never forget this, Toshinori Yagi, never. If I had the power, I would make sure you and everyone who caused me to suffer this day would pay tenfold, yelled Izuku as he punched the refrigerator door one final time. We can help with that if you like, said. Izuku then turned around only to be greeted by two individuals. As Izuku gazed upon these two individuals, all the sadness and rage he felt disappeared, only to be replaced by fear, and he did the only thing his prime instincts told him. He bowed to them. Izuku Yagi likes his mom, All Might, Katsudon hero, dislikes fake heroes, bullies, villains, and bad people. Izuku Midoriya likes his mom, real father, his subordinates, daughters, people house shares his ideas. Dislikes All Might, his twin sister, Bakugo and Todoroki twins, anybody who goes against him. Fake heroes, bullies, villains. Abilities: infinite regeneration, control magic, multi-layer barrier, universal detect, universal shapeshift, demon lord's hockey, enhanced replication, spatial motion, dark flame lightning, universal thread, instant death magic enhancement, rite of darkness. He can enhance his undead creation skills through the use of a dark ritual. Undead aura, undead creation, undead control / undead domination. Has the power to mentally dominate the undead state of mind and soul. What do you mean you could help with that? And may I know who you two are? Izuku asked the two individuals that were in front of him. All right, we forgot to introduce ourselves, chuckled the boy with blue hair as he was scratching the back of his head. I am the king of the Jura Tempest Federation and the most powerful demon lord in my world, Rimuru Tempest, and I'm also a slime, said Rimuru as he transformed into his slime form. And I am the ruler of the great tomb of Nazarick, the sorcerer king, Ains Ulgown, exclaimed Ains. Well, my name is that won't be necessary. We already know who you are, Izuku Midoriya. And would you stop with that incoherent stuttering? It is getting annoying, Ains interrupted. Izuku, not wanting to anger him, tried to calm himself down. Well, then shall we get down to business, said Ains. And what business would that be, Izuku? Have you already forgotten what we just said? We have come to give you power, said Rimuru. Wait, really, replied Izuku. Yes, really, replied Ains. Izuku then had a puzzled look on his face. If I may ask, out of all the people in this world, why choose someone like me? Questioned Izuku. The reason I chose you is simple. I am sick of the cruelty and unjust of this world, and how people think that just because they have the power they can rule over the weak and helpless. Even some of these so-called heroes do this for only fame and fortune, but you're different, Izuku. You no longer see the world through rose-colored glasses. You have experienced the truth of this firsthand, and yet you stand, even after all the humiliation and anguish you had to go through, you still stood your ground. And that is why I have chosen you to be my successor, said Rimuru. As for me, I hate how this society judges and casts away many based on their powers. Some of these people have the potential to be great if trained properly, but it infuriates me to know that their gifts are rotting to waste. I also know you feel the same way, Izuku, and even in the face of despair and adversity, you persevere through, and for that, I greatly admire your determination, replied Ains. Izuku was in utter shock, to say the least. So what do you say, Izuku? Asked Rimuru as he was bouncing towards him. Not so fast, Rimuru. While we did offer him our power, I would like to ask him a question, replied Ains as he also walked towards Izuku. What is your question, Mr. Ainslgown? Asked Izuku. Just call me Ains, Izuku. And my question is, once you get hold of our power, how will you use it? Asked Ains. Izuku stood there thinking with hair, coving his eyes at first. When you two offer me your powers, I thought I could finally take my revenge on those people who caused me nothing but pain and suffering. But now after you two told me your reasons on why you chose me, I changed my mind. This world infected with simple-minded fools who only care about themselves. I will be the cure for this world and society as a whole. Izuku said as he raised his head only to show a determined face. I will build a kingdom to burn this old world to the ground, and from the ashes, a new world will be born where no one will have to suffer or be outcast, and if anybody tries to stand in my way, it will be the last mistake they ever make. Proclaimed Izuku. H-A, that is what I was hoping you would say, exclaimed Ains as Rimuru turned to his human form and smiled at Izuku's response. All right, let's get this over with. And the process in which we transfer our power is going to be painful, so sorry in advance, said Rimuru as he and Ains raised their hands towards Izuku. All my life, I have experienced pain. What's a little more if it means I can make my new ambition a reality, replied Izuku. Oh, and one more thing, Izuku, you won't be alone on this journey. Our subordinates will accompany you. After all, what is a king without his trustful aides, as well as subjects to command? And by the way, along with our power, you will also have our knowledge, said Ains. All right, here we go, said Rimuru as he and Ains started to transfer their powers to Izuku. Soon a blue and black aura started to surround Izuku, who was clenching his fist with so much force. Vital fluid started to trickle down onto the sand, and clenching his teeth as he tried not to yell at the tremendous pain enveloping his body as his body started to change physically as he grew a bit taller and muscular. Don't own images. After what felt like an eternity, it was over as night fell upon them. Wow, this power feels incredible, said Izuku as he was moving his body around. Well, with that, it's time for us to go, said Rimuru. Wait, what do you mean? Where are you two going? Asked Izuku. We came here looking for a successor, and now that we have found one, we can rest now, said Ains. We are no longer part of the world, Izuku. We can rest easy now knowing we entrust you with everything, said Rimuru with a smile on his face. Oh, I almost forgot you're going to need him, said Rimuru as a shadow moved from him to Izuku's. What was that? Asked Izuku. That is the loyalist companion you could ever ask for. His name is Ranga. Treat him well, said Rimuru as he and Ains started to fade away. Izuku then bowed one last time to them as tears started to fall on his face. Thank you for everything, and I won't let you two down, said Izuku as he stood up on his feet. Good, now show this world what you are made of, said Ains as he and Rimuru disappeared. I will, you can bet on it, said Izuku as he started walking away from the trashed beach. Just as Izuku was going to an open area where his new subordinates would come to find him thanks to Rimuru and Ains, who told them where he was located before they disappeared. As he was walking, he saw two of his classmates who made his life miserable. I think I should test out my new power and see how much stronger I have gotten, said Izuku with a grin on his face. Izuku then followed the two boys who were walking back home. Did see how those heroes chewed out that useless Deku, said the fat boy with bat wings. Yeah, that made my day. It serves him right, said the kid with long fingers. Hey, let's take this alleyway. It will get us home faster, said the fat boy as he and his companion went to the alley, unaware of Izuku following them. As the two boys were walking down the alleyway, only to find themselves at a dead-end Great job, genius. It's a dead, and my mom's going to kill me for being late to dinner, said the boy with bat wings. Oh, shut up, come let's turn back and get out of here, said the long-fingered boy. I'm afraid that ship had sailed, said a mysterious voice. Then two boys turned their heads, only to see a shirtless Izuku with his hands in his pockets. Well, if it isn't Deku, what the hell are you doing here? Did you come here for a beating, said the long-fingered boy. He was cracking his knuckles. Yeah. You useless waste of space, said the fat boy with bat wings. 3, said Izuku in a monotone voice. What? Asked the fat boy. I'm going to count to 3, and if you two don't kneel in front of me, by then you forfeit your lives, said Izuku as his eye glowed green one. Just the eyes. Both boys took a step back, but proceeded to him. More how you think that just because you're court manifest we would listen to someone like you too. Yeah, who do you think you're, Deku? You are nothing but a bug that needs to be squashed. 3, I bet your mother. The boy with long fingers tried to taunt him more, only to be interrupted as Izuku punched him in the face, sending him flying and crashing into the wall and bending him to it. Izuku then roundhouse kicked the fat boy with wings in the face, knocking him to the ground with a thud. Izuku then proceeded to kick him in the stomach repeatedly, then picked him up by the back of his shirt and then slammed him into the brick wall. Izuku then walked towards him, picking him up again, and started punching him in the face repeatedly. Izuku is Grimjow, and the fat boy is Ichigo. Izuku then gave him a right hook, and the boy fell to the ground, his face all bruised and missing a few teeth. He tried to use his wings to get away, but Izuku put his foot on his back, stopping him. Where do you think you're going, fatty? Asked Izuku as he applied more pressure to the boy's back. Please, ST, stop, pleaded the boy. I gave you a chance, now a time for retribution, said Izuku, as clenched his hand on the boy's wings. Soon the sound of flesh being torn could be heard throughout the alley, yelled the boy in tremendous pain. Izuku then threw the wing to the side. I can't have you die just yet, said Izuku as fire appears in his hand. He then seared the boy's wounds. Yelled the boy in unimaginable pain word could not describe. The other boy soon woke up by the screaming and the smell of burnt flesh, only to see gruesome sight. He then got out of the wall and ran towards Izuku, activating his quirk, and extended his fingers, hoping it would do something. Izuku then summoned his sword and turned his body around. Izuku then swung his sword vertically upwards, slicing all of the boy's fingers. Ha ha ha, the boy yelled in pain. The boy took off his shirt and cove his hand, staining his shirt, and ground Ranga come out, said Izuku. Soon a giant wolf come out from Izuku's shadow. Yes, Izuku-sama, replied Ranga. Make sure this one stays put, said Izuku as he pointed at the fat boy below him. Hi, replied Ranga, as he put his paw down on the boy's back, making sure he did not get away. Izuku then turned to the other boy walking toward him with his katana in hand. You won't get away with this. Someone must have heard our screams. I bet a hero is on the way right now, said the boy as he was crawling away from Izuku towards the back of the alley. Izuku only laughed at the boy's response. Why are you laughing? Questioned the boy. I am laughing because as soon as you two entered the alley, I placed a barrier around us that cancels noises from the outside, and to others it looks like an empty alleyway, said Izuku as he lifted the boy by the neck, holding him in the air. The boy tried to get out of Izuku's grip, punching his, but to no avail. How does it feel to be powerless? Izuku chuckled. You took my fingers, and his wing. Isn't that enough for your revenge? Said the kid with long fingers as he tried to breathe. This is not revenge, said Izuku, as he then stabs us through the boy's chest, piercing his heart, and his eyes widened. This is me disposing of garbage that does not belong in my new kingdom, Izuku said as he retracted his sword from the boy's chest and let go of his neck, dropping his corpse onto the floor. As Izuku was walking over to the other guy, he swung his sword vertically down, removing the stains from it. And onto the ground, you Massacre, said the boy who was fighting through the immense pain he was in. Oh, I don't forget about you. His death was a mercy. Yours, on the other hand, not so much. Ranga, you can release him now, said Izuku as Ranga removed his paw from the boy's back. Izuku then used sticky thread to cover the boy's mouth because his screaming was getting annoying, then grabbed both of the boy's arms and twisted until cracked. All that could be heard was muffled screaming and bones breaking throughout the alley. Izuku then took a step back, deciding to look at his handiwork, seeing the boy who was one of many people he needed to get rid of, covered head to toe in his vital fluid, broken arms. Part of his back seared where his wings once were barely alive with tears in his eyes. Izuku then removed the sticky thread from the boy's mouth, Well, this has been fun, but I have a schedule to keep. So any last words? Asked Izuku. Please spare me, said the boy as tears started to flow from his eyes, to which Izuku only looked at the boy with an annoyed face. Nam Good-o, and don't worry, the rest of the school will join you too on the way to oblivion, Izuku said as he pushed his hand into the boy's back and ripped out his spine, all covered in vital fluid. Izuku dropped the spine and skull and was walking away when an idea came to his mind. I guess I could use them after all. I do need soldiers, Izuku said as he extended his hand at the two corpses. Death Knight, said Izuku. As the two corpses turned to black puddles, there emerged two huge skeletons with black capes, armor, and horn on their helmets, along with giant swords and shields. All right, let go then, shall we? Said Izuku as he puts his hands in his pockets and started to walk out of the alleyway, only to stop at the entrance. Well then, I hope you guys enjoyed the show, Izuku said to the group of individuals that were on top of the roofs of the buildings watching him from the shadows. Then they all jumped down in front of Izuku and kneeled before him with their heads down. We greet you, Izuku-sama, said the individuals. Izuku looks at them for a moment, then starts walking past them. Let's go, said Izuku, as then a hobgoblin raised its head. Where to, Izuku-sama? Asked the hobgoblin. Izuku stopped and turned his head towards the hobgoblin. Where else? Gobta, a place where I will build my kingdom, said Izuku, as then a teleportation circle appeared beneath them, and they disappeared. Unknown to Izuku, a person watched him disappear and decided to check the alleyway he came out of when the person saw all the vital fluid on the walls and ground and did the only logical thing and regurgitated their dinner and called the cops. Time passes, and the cop shows up and taped off the alleyway. Soon a man wearing a top hat, tan raincoat, and white gloves stepped out of the vehicle. Oh, Detective Nao Mesa, Tsukachi, you're here, said a police officer as he lifted the black and yellow tape. All right, what do we got? Asked the detective. Well, for starters, the alley is covered in vital fluid, but no bodies. The forensics team is checking who it belongs to, and we have a witness, said the cop. All right, take me to the witness, said Detective Tsukachi as the cop escorted him to the witness. It was a young woman in her 30s with blonde hair, wearing a green t-shirt, black jeans, and blue running shoes. Hello, ma'am. My name is Tsukachi. I'm a detective with the police. Can you tell me what transpired tonight? Asked the detective. Yes, there was a kid with green hair that came out of that alleyway with two ginormous skeleton knights, and a group of people came from the building roofs up above and jumped off and bowed to him, and then there was so kind of circle appeared on the ground, and they vanished into thin air, said the women, still horrified by seeing all the vital fluid. What do you think, sir? Asked the police officer. I don't know, but see if she could give us a description of that boy. I need to go talk with an old friend, said Detective Tsukachi as he got his car and drove off, unaware that a guy with blue hair and a horn on his head watching and listening from the shadows. Izuku and the others soon appeared in a vast forest. As far as the eye can see, this place should be quite nice, said Izuku as he was looking around the area. Now, then raise your heads and stand, said Izuku, as all of them raised their head and stood up. Ignore Rimuru. I assume they have told who I am and what I am doing, asked Izuku. Yes, Izuku-sama. They responded. Good. I already know who you all are, so there's no need for introductions. Before we get down to business, let's do it in a more appropriate spot, said Izuku as he walked a bit further and found what he was after. From this old forgotten kingdom, a new kingdom shall rise, better and everlasting, said Izuku, raising his hands, and surrounded by magic circles. Restore, shouted Izuku, as the old ruins started to restore itself to their former glory. All of his subordinates were in shock. And now let's head inside, shall we, said Izuku, as they teleported into the throne room. Izuku then sat on his new throne as Ranga laid down next to him. Now, I have 10 minutes before I go into a deep sleep, so let's make this quick, said Izuku. First of all, Benimaru, said Izuku as he motioned him forward. Yes, Izuku-sama, replied Benimaru. I want you, Albedo, and Demiurge to fortify our defenses and set up a unit at the entrance, said Izuku. As you wish, Izuku-sama, said Benimaru. Now, Sui, I want you to keep tabs on Trash Might, Izumi, and that piece of trash school along with my mother, and also come here, said Izuku as Sui came close to Izuku, and he whispered in his ear, I understand, and will perform my duties to the best of my abilities. Also, I left one of my body doubles back in the alleyway, and someone has spotted us as we were teleporting and contacted the authority. What would you like for me to do? said Sui HM. Take sea bass with you and alter her memory and giving them a different target. As you command, said Sui, as in sea bass, then vanished into the shadows. We are also going to need to start gathering food as well, Rigard. Rigger said, Izuku. Yes, sir, replied Rigard, and Rigger, go into the forest with the goblin riders and hunt as much wildlife as you can, but don't overhunt after you gathered enough. Use ice magic to freeze the meat so it doesn't spoil. Rigard, make a list of what they hunted and how much, said Izuku. Yes, Izuku-sama, said Rigger as he and the riders were leaving to fulfill their task. Oh, that reminds me, Gobta, said Izuku as Gobta turned and faced Izuku. Rimuru might have let you goof off under him, but not me. If I hear that you are not doing your job, there will be punishment, said Izuku with a serious face. Yes, sir, said Gobta, sweating profoundly. Good. Now, Cositus, Hakuru, I want you two to train our forces so that they are ready for battle at any time and don't get rusty. Now go, said Izuku. It would be our honor, they said as they left the throne room. I would also like some of you looking for a mineral deposit. That way Kurobe and Kaijin can start working on weapons and armor. As for the rest, you're on standby. Am I clear? Said Izuku. Hi, Izuku-sama, said the rest of his subordinates. All right, and with that, good night, said Izuku as he passes out on his throne and nearly fell out. Only for Ranga to catch him. I will take Izuku-sama to bed, said Ranga as he carried Izuku to his chambers, laying him on his bed, and grabbed the blanket with his teeth and covered him and went back into Izuku's shadow. The world was unaware of the danger that was soon to unfold. As Ranga was taking Izuku to his chambers, the others were talking among themselves. I could see why Ains and Rimuru-sama chose him to be their successor. He immediately knew what we needed and set units that best suited for that task, said Benimaru. I agree, his power is truly incredible, said Demiurge. We should assign one of the maids to take care of Izuku-sama until he wakes up, said Benimaru. That won't be necessary, I'll do it. After all, it's a wife's duty to take care of her husband, said Albedo, as then 3 auras burst into the room, who decided that, said Shaltir, Cheyenne, and Shuna. Well, it's obvious, it's me. Who else would it be, said Albedo, as her aura increased as well, and all 4 their auras were shaking the entire throne room. All right, that's enough. We don't want to disturb Izuku-sama's sleep, said Demiurge as the 4 of them calmed down. You're right, we should focus on the tasks he has given us, but the 4 of us shall discuss the other topic later, said Albedo, looking at Shaltir, Cheyenne, Shuna. Then they all left the throne room to fulfill their tasks. Time passed, and Izuku woke up from his slumber. I needed that nap, said Izuku, as he stretched his arms up and gets out his king-size bed and looked at his room. So it wasn't a dream after all, said Izuku with a smile on his face. Then he heard the door open and turned around to see one of the Pleiades in his room, kneeling. I am glad that you have finally awakened, Izuku-sama, said Narbril with a faint blush on her face, seeing without a shirt showing off his muscles. Oh, good morning, Narbril Gamma. How have you been, asked Izuku. I am doing fine, Izuku-sama. Would you like to eat breakfast here or in the dining room? Asked Narbril, as then Izuku's stomach growled. Hee. I will eat in the dining room. And if it's not too much trouble, have everyone meet me there if you would, said Izuku as Narbril stood up at once. Izuku-sama, excuse me, said Narbril as she left his room. Guess I better get changed, said Izuku as he is now in a suit. Izuku then looked at himself in a mirror. That should do it, said Izuku as he heard knocking at his door. Enter, said Izuku as Narbril entered his room. Izuku-sama, the food is ready, and I am here to escort you to the dining room, said Narbril. Good. I am so hungry, I could eat a horse, said Izuku as he was walking toward the door to the dining room. We do not have horse meat, Izuku-sama, but if you like I would go get some, said Narbril as Izuku sighed with an anime sweat on his head. It's just an expression. Narbril, it means that someone is very hungry, said Izuku. Very well then, this way, please, Izuku-sama, said Narbril as she was leading him toward the dining room with a bunch of food. Please have a seat, Izuku-sama, said Narbril as she pulled back a chair. Thank you, said Izuku as he sat down. Then there was a knock on the door. Narbril went to go open it, and this subordinate came through. I'll welcome everyone, said Izuku as they all bowed to him. It is good to see you're doing well, Izuku-sama. They all said, glad to hear it. Please have a seat. You all mustn't have breakfast yet, said Izuku as he gestured to the empty chairs. We can't possibly do that. This food is for you, Izuku-sama, said Demiurge. Nonsense, I insist, said Izuku as they all stand and take a seat. Izuku then took a bite of his food. Soon tears started running down his cheeks. Then all his subordinates got worried. Izuku-sama, are you okay? Is the food not to your liking? Asked Shuna. No, it's not that, it's just been so long since I had a nice warm cooked meal, said Izuku with a warm smile on his face. Those detestable monsters will pay dearly for making him suffer, thought his subordinates. If we ever see the ones who made him suffer, they will beg for death, thought Albedo, Shaltir, Cheyenne, and Shuna as they were clenching their fist. So how long was I asleep? Asked Izuku as he was eating happily. You have been asleep for 10 months, Izuku-sama, said Benimaru as Izuku was now choking on his food. Then Benimaru quickly gave him a glass of water. Izuku grabbed a glass and started drinking the water. After Izuku finished drinking the water, he was calmed down. 10 months, exclaimed Izuku. Yes, sir, affirmed Demiurge. Well, that would explain appetite then, said Izuku as he continued to eat. Anything else happened while I was asleep? Asked Izuku. Benimaru was the first to speak. As you have requested, we have strengthened our defenses and have placed units at the entrance of the kingdom, said Benimaru, as he was taking a bit of his food. That's good to hear. There's something else you should know, said Demiurge. What is it? Asked Izuku. The 2 Death Knights you have created have unforeseen changes, said Demiurge. What sort of changes? Asked Izuku. Well, for starters, one has wings, and the other can extend its fingers up to 5 feet, said Demiurge. So whoever I kill and turn into Death Knights, their quirk stays interesting, said Izuku with a smile. Now, Sui, your report, said Izuku. Yes, sir, unfortunately Rigard couldn't make it, so I will give you his report as well, said Sui. Very well, continue then, said Izuku. Right, he says that everything is running smoothly and is making sure not to overhunt, and also made an area to grow vegetables, so food won't be a problem. Also, he says that he has spotted Gobda sleeping on duty countless time along with his group, said Sui. I told Gobda that there will be consequences. Tell Rigard to keep up the good work and bring me Gobda later for his punishment. And your report, Sui, said Izuku as he was finishing his food. Yes, sir, Trash Mite and Izumi have been training at the municipal beach for the past 10 months, and she has passed the entrance exam along with her friend, said Sui. Of course they did. And what about my mother, Sui? Asked Izuku. Apparently an earthquake happened on the other side of the world and caused a lot of damage. She went there to help the people for 10 months. She will return in about a week or so, said Sui. Also, that school has not changed since your disappearance. And as for your other request, it took me and my unit some time, but I have brought both. It is ready whenever you are, Izuku-sama, said Sui. Thank you, Sui. I will do that when I came back, said Izuku as he got up from his chair. Albedo, Cheyenne came with me and bring the Death Knights, said Izuku as walking towards the door. Where are we going, Izuku-sama? Asked Cheyenne as Izuku stopped and looked back at her. I'm going to leave a mark on this world, said Izuku as he left for his room. As Izuku left the dining room, he headed back to his room and lay on his bed with a blush on his face. So hot the female subordinates of Rimuru and Ains are so smocking hot. Even the maids. Okay, control yourself, Izuku. This is not how mom raised you. But Cheyenne and Albedo are thick, not to mention Shuna and Shaltir also have nice curves as well. I'll stop, Izuku, he thought as he tried to calm down. Okay, I gotta calm down, think of something else. So like, that school full of trash for brains you're going to massacre, said Izuku as he had a grin on his face. Yes, I can't wait to see my old schoolmates again. It will be fun, said Izuku as he got up and left his room and went to the throne room. Upon arriving, Albedo, Cheyenne, and the 2 Death Knights are waiting for him. Well then, shall we be off? Said Izuku as a teleportation circle appeared underneath him and the other and vanished. At Alder Junior High. I can't believe that quirkless trash just up and disappeared. I hoped he died. The world would be so much better without those quirkless insects scurrying about, the principal said as he was entering his office. Upon entering his office, he sees Izuku in his chair with his feet on the table and hands behind his back with a smirk on his face. Hey, it's been a while, hasn't it, principal? Said Izuku as the principal stood there shocked, but quickly composed himself. Well, if it isn't Izuku, I hope you have a good excuse for disappearing, said the principal as he was waking toward Izuku, but was unable to take a step. Why can't I move? Said the principal. That would be my stick thread, said Izuku as gets up from the chair and walks toward to him and punches him in the stomach, causing to him to cough out saliva. Hurts, doesn't it? That is only a fraction of the pain I had to endure in this hell hole, said Izuku, as then Albedo and Shine appeared. Izuku-sama, all the preparation. Are ready, we can begin. Whenever you are ready. Also, it appears that the four of them are not here, said Albedo. Who are you two, and what preparations? Asked the principal. Well, that's unfortunate. Oh, well, it can't be helped. At least I get wipe these people off the face of the earth, so that a plus, said Izuku, ignoring the principal. Well, then let the symphony of death begin, said Izuku as he snapped his fingers, and two roars were heard throughout the building. What was that? Asked the principal. Oh, that was the sound of my death knights about to slaughter the students and facilities here. Let's watch, said Izuku as a monitor appeared out of thin air and showed the massacre that was unfolding. How are the death knights smaller? Asked Albedo. That is because I can shrink them to any size I want. In this case, I shrank them down so they can fit into the building, said Izuku. That is amazing, Izuku-sama, said Shine with stars in her eyes. Meanwhile, the Death Knights were slaughtering anybody in its path. One student tried using his quirk, which launches a rock from his palms at the head of the Death Knight, and bounced off at the student, tried to run away, only for the Death Knight to extend its fingers, pricing his skull. Other students who were screaming in terror and ran for their lives, but it was pointless as the Death Knight chased them down. As for the other Death Knight, it blocked an attack with its wings as it grabbed its attacker by the head and started to crush. That student vital fluid was falling down his head, screaming in pain, hitting the Death Knight's arm in desperation, but to no avail until the student's head popped it, then knocked the teacher to the floor and started stabbing her. She was screaming for help as vital fluid started to come out her mouth. But the other students ran to save themselves. They tried to break the window, but it didn't crack. They tried using their quirks, but it didn't work either, and ran to find another way to escape, only to stop and see one of the corpses move and stand back up, its skin drains of color. Its eyes deprived of life, it ran towards one of the students, biting into their neck as he screams in pain as vital fluid gushed out like a sprinkler as the student dropped to the floor. The students and teachers that were still alive started running desperately, trying to find a way out as the corpses started to come back to life and hunted the ones that were still alive. Wait, I recognize those wings and long fingers, said the principal. I see you finally noticed. Yes, those were once your student, but now they have become something better. And as for the others, they are now ghouls, said Izuku. How could you do this? How can you just watch and be so calm about your teachers and fellow students dying? Said the principal as threw up from the gruesome sight he was witnessing. Oh, you mean the same teachers and students who mocked and make my life miserable, not to mention you, who always get a kick out of my misery, said Izuku with hate in his voice. I'm sorry. I was wrong. Please spare me. I beg of you, pleaded the principal. Spare you. I have no intention of letting any of you live. This is the price you pay, said Izuku with a smile on his face. Well, it has been fun, principal, but I have a classroom to visit, so see ya. But don't worry, I will leave the door open so you can have some company, said Izuku as he opened the door, and the corpses of the dead student bow to him as he walks down the hall. Wait, you can't leave me like this, please. Please don't go, pleaded the principal. Enjoy your meal, said Izuku as the ghouls screeched and ran toward the principal's office and start devouring him as he was unable to move due to the stick thread. Screamed the principal as one of the corpses bit the front of his neck and vital fluid gushed out like a waterfall. Soon they attacked his stomach, said Izuku as he made his way towards his old classroom. Izuku was now walking down the hall with Shine and Albedo by his side. They came across a ghoul feasting on a student in front of him. The ghouls turned around and saw Izuku. It instantly grabbed the student's corpse and moved out of his way, to which Izuku smiled at, and continued to walk down the mess-covered hallway until he was in front of his old classroom with his Death Knights standing guard. Make sure I'm not interrupted by any means, and you to take care of the rest, said Izuku. Hi, Izuku. Sama, said Albedo and Shine as he opened the door and entered the classroom. Once he entered, he saw his old classmates and teacher huddled in a corner. Well, isn't this a sight? To think you all who look down on me scared. Oh, how the so-called might have fallen, said Izuku as he laughed. Then one of the students saw a man walking by the school and banged on the window and shouting to get his attention. Soon the others followed. As well, it's no use, the entire school is trapped in a barrier. And I also made sure you can't call anyone, said Izuku as he sat down on the teacher's desk, as everyone was looking at him. Well, there's a way you can leave, said Izuku, as the classroom was filled with hope. All you have to do is make me, said Izuku as The entire classroom had smiles on their faces, thinking it would be a piece of cake. One of the students jumped and activated his quirk with made him more muscular. He then reared back his right arm back. "Take this, you stupid Deku," said the student as he tried to punch Izuku in the face, only for Izuku to catch his fist in his palm of his left hand. "Is that all you got?" said Izuku with a bored face. Izuku then kicked him in the nuts, then grabbed his head and kneed him in the face, breaking his nose in the process and knocking him out. "So who's next?" said Izuku as multiple students came and attacked him, activating their quirks. One student tried to bite him with his sharp teeth, only for Izuku to grab his head and smash him to the wall, shattering his teeth. And then another one came with his fist covered in rocks and threw a punch, only for Izuku to do the same, and their fist collided, only for the boy's left arm to the shader as stains and rocks now stained the floor. Izuku then punches in the face, sending him crashing into another student with a big head. Then his torso and arms were wrapped in blue hair, and saw a girl trying to hold him as two girls used their quirks. One used her fire quirk and launches it at Izuku, as the other one used her wind to make the fire bigger and hotter. The blue-haired girl tries to release Izuku so her hair wouldn't catch fire, but Izuku grabbed her hair and pulled her towards him, causing the attack to hit both of them. The girl screamed in utter pain as she was being burned alive. The other two stopped their attack. Izuku then threw the girl, who was still on fire, toward the boy whose head is covered in wood, setting his head on fire as the other student tried putting them out. Izuku then ran towards the two girls, punched one in the stomach, and roundhouse kicked the other, causing them to go flying at the end of the classroom. "Are you people even trying?" yelled Izuku in anger. "You all keep saying how amazing your quirks are, but this is disappointing. Maybe you all need more motivation. You know what? Fine, playtime is over now," said Izuku, as he appeared in front of a boy whose quirk allows him to make his eyes stretch out of his eye sockets. Izuku grabbed his eyes and yanked them off, causing the boy to scream in pain as he was on the floor, covering where his face with his hand shut. "Up you mutt," said Izuku as brought out his sword and slashed the boy's neck, causing the boy to cover his neck, trying to stop the vital fluid from escaping, but it was in vain as he died within a few minutes. Everyone was now scared because this became a life and death situation. Izuku pointed his sword towards the students whose neck, said Izuku as he smirked and walked closer to them. The fire and wind quirk users tried the same tactic again and sent a huge wave of fire at Izuku, only for him to continue to walk forward like nothing. "I think I was getting a little chilly," said Izuku. He appeared behind the girl with the fire quirk, grabbed her head, then snapped her neck, killing her instantly as he let of her head and the body drops to the floor. He then grabbed the wind quirk user by the head and slammed her into a desk with his left hand, the punched his right arm in her cheeks and tosses the body aside. He then went toward the girl with long horns on her head, grabbed one of her horns and break it off, caused the girl to scream in pain. Izuku then stabbed the girl with glasses in her left eye. Then the kid with the muscular quirk woke back up, only to see his classmates being killed one after another. He then got behind Izuku and got him in a choke. Hold the other student were now filled with hope. "I got you now, Deku," it oversaid the boy as he starts to squeeze hard, trying to knock Izuku out so they could escape, and calls the police. "Ah, how cute you think you have me pinned. Oh, how wrong you are," said Izuku as his entire body started to turn into green-like substance and escaped the chokehold. Then his body returned to normal and got behind the muscular student and started to strangle him with his shred. The muscular boy tried to get Izuku off, but to no avail. As Izuku pulled the tread tighter, soon the boy fell to his knees as the boy's face turned purple. As Izuku let go of the thread, the boys dropped down to the floor dead. The remaining student and teacher looked around the classroom, seeing the corpses of their classmates/students. "Well, I'm bored now," sighed Izuku as he looked at the ceiling. "Oh well, time to send the rest of you to oblivion," said Izuku. The students couldn't even move a muscle as they were afraid, unaware that they have a thin layer of thread around their necks. "Oh, don't worry, I will put y'all's corpses to good use," said Izuku as he pulled the thread as each of the students dropped dead, vital fluid paints. The classroom. "How does that feel, you piece of trash? This is what I had to go through every day of my life," said Izuku as gave his teacher one final punch to the teacher's stomach, who coughed out. The teacher had multiple bruises, broken ribs, fractured jaw, and a broken nose as Izuku's fists were covered in stains. "Please spare me. I'm sorry, plead the teacher. Nah, I'm good, said Izuku. As he took a step back, goodbye, dirtbag. Don't want to keep your student waiting in oblivion, said Izuku, as he punched him in the head with all his might, causing the teacher to drop dead. Izuku then walked out of the classroom, where Albedo, Shine along with the two Death Knights were waiting for him. Are you Izuku-sama? Asked Shine. Yeah, I feel better. Now have someone gather the ghouls and corpses with you. It is time to leave, said Izuku. Of course, Izuku-sama, said Albedo, as he snapped his fingers and the barrier disappeared. It's time for the world to know its rightful ruler has appeared, said Izuku with a grin as he and the others teleported back to his kingdom. Izuku and the others teleported into the throne room. Well, that was fun, said Izuku as he smiled. If that is all you need, Izuku-sama, me and Shine have some other business to take care of, said Albedo, as Izuku nodded. Yes, thank you, said Izuku, as they left the throne room quickly. It seemed that they were in a hurry, strange, said Izuku with a questionable face. Oh well, it's probably nothing now. Then Sui, said Izuku as Sui came from the shadows and bowed to Izuku. Yes, Izuku-sama, said Sui, take me to where you placed them, said Izuku, as he turned to Sui. Of course, Izuku-sama, said Sui, as he stood up and walked towards Izuku and placed his hand on Izuku's shoulder, and they both vanished, only to reappear in the catacombs. This way, Izuku-sama, said Sui as he guided him through the catacombs until they were in front of a door. As Sui opened the door, Izuku saw what he requested of Sui to bring to him. Thank you, Sui, for retrieving what I have asked for, said Izuku with a smile on his face. Thank you, Izuku-sama, said Sui as he bowed. All right, then let's get started, shall we? Said Izuku with a smirk on his face. Meanwhile, at Alder Junior High, the sun was setting over the horizon as police and news crew were in front of the school, which was covered in black and yellow tape. Then Detective Tsukachi arrived. He then walked over to the school entrance. Detective, over here, said a cop as he handed the detective a mask. How bad is it? Asked the detective. Take a look for yourself. I can't describe this horrific scene, said the cop. They then entered the building. Even with the mask, the stench of vital fluid was still overwhelming at the two. Try not to throw up. Are there any bodies? Asked the detective. Only 2 bodies were found, sir. The rest of the building is covered in vital fluid, said the cop. Show me the bodies, said the detective. The cop nodded as they made their way to the principal's office. I gotta warn you, sir. Before we enter, brace yourself, said the cop as he opened the door, and what the detective saw was so gruesome he lowered his mask and regurgitated his meal onto the floor. Inside the office was the stained corpse of the principal, covered in flies. Looking at the body, what kind of person would do this? Said the detective as he wiped his mouth with his sleeve. The other corpse is similar to this. Have you checked the security cameras? Asked the detective. Yes, sir, the team is getting the footage as we speak, said the cop. That's good, said the detective. There is also something else you should know, detective, said the cop. What is it? Asked the detective. Do you remember the vital fluid we found in the alleyway 10 months ago? Asked the cop, to which the detective nodded. It belonged to 2 students from this school, said the cop. The detective had a puzzled look on his face. Was the 2 students related to this, or is this just a coincidence? Said the detective as he looked at the remains of the principal. Then another cop entered the room. Detective, you have to see this, said the cop, as the detective followed him outside to where reporters were surrounding him, asking questions about what happened to the student and faculties in the school. We do not know anything as of yet, but we will let you know when we do. Excuse me, said the detective, as the police we getting the reports to back off. The detective then followed the cop to a black van with monitors inside. All right, what do guys got? Asked the detective. Here, look at this, said the cop as he showed what happened inside the school. They watched as 2 huge skeletons killed the students and facility members. It looked like the skeletons were enjoying it. Then it showed the students that were killed coming back to life and started to kill and eat the other students and teachers. Show me the principal's office, said the detective as they switched the principal's office footage. It showed Izuku on the desk talking to the principal and then leaving him to be eaten by the ghouls. Then they switched the footage to what happened in the classroom, where the teacher and students were massacred by Izuku. This can't be, said the detective. What is it, detective? Asked the cop. I know who that person is, said the detective as he looks disappointed. Put out an arrest for Izuku Yagi and put on news, said the detective as the cops nodded. He then pulled out his phone and called someone, and they picked up. Hello, hey, it's me. Turn on the news after that. We need to talk, said the detective with rage as he was clenching his fist. Back at Izuku's kingdom. Well, that took longer than expected, said Izuku as he stretched his arms out. Can you handle things from here? Sui asked Izuku, of course. Leave it to also, the other wanted to talk to you about something in the plaza. Said Sui, oh, must be the construction they're working on. Alright, well, see ya. Said Izuku as he left the catacombs. He is on his way. Said Sui as he communicated to Shuna through thought communication. Alright, we ready on this end. Said Shuna as Sui left a body double and made his way to the plaza. Night was approaching as Izuku made his way to the plaza. Man, it sure is quiet tonight, said Izuku as he arrived at the plaza. HMP. There's no one here, said Izuku. Then, all of a sudden, the lights were on, and his subordinates came out. Surprise, happy birthday. Izuku-sama yelled his subordinates, as Izuku could only stare in surprise, as he was not expecting this. Then a smile appeared on his face. Wait, how did you guys know that today was my birthday? Asked Izuku. Well, since that horrible excuse of a human being Izumi is your twin, we were able to find out when your birthday is, said Shuna, as she smiled at his. Each one of us got you a gift as well, said Shuna, as she motioned to the pile of presents. That's a lot of gifts, said Izuku. Come on, Izuku-sama, said Shuna as she dragged Izuku to a large table full of various types of food. Izuku then started to eat like there was no tomorrow. Wow, this tastes incredible, said Izuku as he enjoyed the food. I'm glad you like it, Izuku-sama, said Shuna as the others started to get food as well, enjoying the genial cool breeze. Izuku was finishing his food. He looked around and saw everyone having fun and enjoying themselves. Listen up, everyone, said Izuku as he raised his glass and tapped on it, getting everyone's attention. Words can't describe how happy I am right now. All my life, I have only known misery and despair, but know as I look around me and see what we have accomplished together, I couldn't be more thrilled as to what is to come in the future. So let us enjoy tonight, for tomorrow we show the world how it's new. Ruler is, said Izuku as the others cheered. Everyone was having fun and talking. Eventually it was time for them to give Izuku his presents. Up first was Sui, who gave Izuku a dark green kunai. I hope this serves you well, Izuku-sama, said Sui. Yes, thanks, Sui, said Izuku as Sui bowed. The next person was Benimaru. He gave Izuku a green beads bracelet. Wow, this looks incredible, Benimaru, said Izuku, as then inspected it closer. He noticed the beads were glowing and felt a bit of heat coming off of the bead. Benimaru, is there fire inside the beads? Asked Izuku. Yes, I had Kaijin and Kiro make beads that could withstand fire, and this was the result, said Benimaru. Thank you for the gift, Benimaru, said Izuku as he placed the bracelet on his left wrist. Then Gapta came forward and handed Izuku a box, which he opened to reveal a green marble. Izuku looked at it with an unimpressed face and looked at Gapta. You like it, Izuku-sama? I found made it while you were away, he said. Gapta, it's great, Gapta, thanks, said Izuku as he tried to sound excited. Izuku then had a smile on his face as his aura started to raise. Oh, right, Gapta, that reminds me, Rigard said you and your group were slacking off during your duties, said Izuku, as Gapta was sweating bullets. Izuku then made buckets and toothbrushes as punishment. You and your group are going to scrub the castle from bottom to top and inside. And how do I make myself clear? Said Izuku while Gapta and his group had gone pale. Yes, sir. As Izuku had finished receiving his gifts, he then thought of something that will liven the party more. Izuku then made his way to the center of the plaza. He quickly created a stage using magic and got on it, and created instruments and made a few body doubles, but he didn't have speakers or a microphone. He then got an idea. He made a gate, and a ghoul appeared with speakers all over its body. What do you know, you will be useful, after all, said Izuku, as he turned to the others facing him. All right, who is ready for this party to get started? Said Izuku, as his subordinates cheered. All right, let's get this started, said Izuku. As he finished, all he heard was cheers from the crowd, and Smillies, hope you all ready for another, said Izuku, as started to play. The crowd cheered again. All right, I'm going to play 2 more songs, and that's it, said Izuku, as he was about to play again. This song is about my experience with heroes, and I think it explains itself, said Izuku. All right, this is the last song for today, said Izuku. His subordinates cheer, and some whistled after he was done singing. Then Rigard went to Izuku. That was amazing, Izuku-sama. We had no idea you could sing, said Rigard. It was the only way for me to escape the reality of my old life, said Izuku. "Oh, right before I forget, I have finally got my gift ready," said Rigard as he and Gel got a few barrels and placed at table. "Rigard, what's in the barrels?" asked Izuku. "Well, is not a party without a bit of booze," said Rigard as opened a barrel and dunked a cup and gave the cup to Izuku. Izuku looked at the alcohol and shrugged. "What's the worst that can happen? Cheers, everyone," said Izuku as he started drinking. A few hours later, Izuku and his subordinates were wasted as some of them fell asleep on the ground, and on the stage others somehow went to their rooms. Shuna, Cheyenne, Albedo, and Shaltir were helping Izuku to his room as he couldn't quite walk. As they were helping him to his room, Izuku could feel their rack pressing against him as Cheyenne and Albedo had his arms over their shoulders, and he couldn't help but look at Shuna's and Shaltir's rear as they were in front of him. As all five of them make it to Izuku's room, they place him on his bed. As they were about to leave, Izuku used wind magic to close the doors. They then turn around to see Izuku with hunger in his eyes. "You four aren't going anywhere. I still don't get my gifts from you four," said Izuku. "You know, now that I think about it, we didn't give you our gifts, did we?" said Albedo, as she and the rest of them had blush on their faces. Soon the four of them took off their clothes fully and stood in front of Izuku, who motioned them to come forward. Albedo couldn't take it anymore and smacked her lips onto Izuku's as their tongues interlaced one another. The other three, not wanting to be left behind, also went on the attack, as well as Shuna and Shaltir were battling Albedo for Izuku's lips. Cheyenne undid his belt and started to take off his pants, leaving him in his boxers. "Saw a huge bulge. Looks like someone wants to say hello," said Cheyenne as she took off his boxers, only to be hit in the face as she yelped as the other three stopped kissing Izuku and looked down to see a 10-inch monster that was in front of them. All four of them blushed, and their nether regions got wet at the sight of it. "Oh my, looks like Izuku-sama is built well," said Cheyenne as she starts to do him off while licking the tip before she took all of it in her mouth and started to bob her head up and down. Izuku was grunting at the amount of pleasure he was in. "Izuku-sama, don't just focus on her," said Albedo as she pulled his head down toward her chest. "You can gulp on them as much as you want," said Albedo, to which Izuku happily agreed as he took her nips in his mouth and started to gulp on them while he was doing it. At the same time, Albedo held onto the back of his head as she was in pure bliss. Izuku, not wanting to leave out Shaltir and Shuna, started to finger their PPs as they started to make noises. After an hour, Izuku was getting close. Izuku stopped gulping on Albedo's rack. "All of you get in front of me," said Izuku, as all four of them were now in front of him on their knees, as Izuku released all over their faces and body. The four women started to swallow the liquid off each other, savoring every drop. Izuku could only look at the scene before him as his PP was in full mass again and grabbed Shaltir and Shuna and threw them to the bed as Albedo and Cheyenne were occupied with each other. Izuku walked toward the bed where Shaltir and Shuna are. "Get on your hands and knees and face the wall," said Izuku, as they did as they were told, as Izuku had a nice view of their wet parts. He inserted into Shuna as she cries in pure bliss. "So tight," said Izuku as he grabbed Shuna's hips and started pushing her at a steady pace, then used his left hand to finger Shaltir, who was now making nosy as well. He then started to touch Shuna with his other hand, causing her even more pleasure as her tongue was sticking out of her mouth. "Izuku-sama, I am releasing," said both Shaltir and Shuna, as Izuku pushed more into Shuna. "To take it all, Shuna," said Izuku as all three of them came as Izuku filled Shuna with his liquid as her eyes rolled at the back of her head and cried in pure bliss and passed out. Izuku then removed it from her and then went over to Shaltir, who was laying down on the bed. Izuku then turned her around, and she was on her back and grabbed her leg. He then aligned his PP to her entrance. "Are you ready, Shaltir?" asked Izuku as he teased her by putting the tip in. "Yes, Izuku-sans, make me yours," said Shaltir as Izuku inserted in her as Shaltir grabbed the sheets of the bed. Izuku then stated to push into her at a steady pace until found a good rhythm and started to go faster as Shaltir was on cloud 9. Unable to feel anything but the pure pleasure, she then grabbed Izuku's head and smacked her lips to his as their tongues were wrapping around each other. After an hour, Izuku then felt his peak coming and pushing a Shaltir one last time as he releases it inside of her as eyes rolled in the back of her head from the pleasure. Izuku then placed the unconscious Shaltir next to Shuna. Izuku then walked towards him. Seems like you two had fun, said Izuku, as they both looked at him and stood up as Izuku went to Cheyenne and embraced her passionately. Izuku stopped embracing Cheyenne and looked toward Albedo. You want a taste, don't you, Albedo, said Izuku as Albedo was looking at him with those eyes. Yes, I want some of Izuku-sama, said Albedo. Well, I'm going to be busy with Cheyenne here, but you can get it from another source, said Izuku, who pointed at Shuna and Shaltir on the bed. Now then, said Izuku as he embraced Cheyenne once more. He then started to play with her massive chest. After a few minutes, they separated from the embrace, only being connected by a strand of saliva. Turn around and get on your hands and knees, said Izuku, as she did what she was told as Izuku started doing it. As Izuku placed Cheyenne next to Shuna and Shaltir, he was tacked by Albedo to the floor. I can't hold back anymore. I want Izuku-sama to ravage me, said Albedo, as she aligned his PP to her entrance and slammed herself down, causing her to cry out in pleasure. So good, said Albedo as she passed out from the pleasure. As Izuku finished dumping inside her, he placed her on the bed with the other, and he went on the bed as well. Best birthday ever, said Izuku as he went to sleep with the four of them clinging to his body. Izuku woke up, and he felt pleasure on his lower half. He looked down. He saw Cheyenne and Albedo sandwiching his pee-pee in between their rack. As Izuku couldn't take the pleasure anymore, he came on their face. Well, shall we continue where we left off? Said Albedo, as little hearts in her eyes. As much as I would like to continue this, we have work to do, said Izuku, as he got out of bed with Cheyenne and Albedo pouting at this, but agreed and got out of bed and started to wake up Shuna and Shaltir. After they all got changed and headed to the dining room, as they were walking, the four women glowed them, as everyone thought the same thing. They got the D last night. They made it to the dining room and sat down to eat their breakfast. Demiurge Sui walked in. Good morning, Izuku-sama. I hope you enjoyed yourself last night, said Demiurge as Izuku coughed. Yes, it was a great night, to say the least, said Izuku, how was slightly blushing. Izuku-sama, when you finished eating, I have some information about UA that would pique your interest, said Sui, as Izuku nodded in response. After they were done eating, Izuku, Albedo, and Cheyenne went to the throne room with Sui waiting there. Izuku then sat on his throne with Cheyenne on his left and Albedo on his right. All right, Sui, what you have said, Albedo, one of my body doubles saw some break into UA yesterday, using some sort of decay quirk, and some reporters got in causing distraction, said Sui. You call this important information? You are wasting Izuku-sama's time, said Albedo, to which Izuku raised his hand, causing her to stop. Did your body double follow him? Asked Izuku. Yes, the person was looking at where the student and All Might will be for some sort of trip, said Sui. What is the name of the place? Sui asked Cheyenne. From what my body double saw, it was called USJ. They're supposed to be there about now, said Sui. Izuku then summoned a mirror and found USJ. He then used a spell to see inside the building. He saw the students enter the building, and a black portal appeared. A guy with blue hair with hands all over his upper body come out, along with a large number of villains and some sort of bird creature with scars all over its body. Izuku decided to watch, and what would accrue. He then moved to the mirror in front of him and made it bigger so that his subordinates could also see. Let's see how long they last, said Izuku, as the Albedo, Cheyenne, and Sui watched. After a couple of minutes had gone by, the heroes were losing. This is just a pitfall scene. They scurry around like insects, said Albedo. Izuku then saw Aizawa getting beat down by the bird creature, and he got angry. Albedo, Cheyenne, Sui, he said. Izuku. Yes, Izuku-sama, responded the three. Gather. Who can we're going? USJ, said Izuku. Excuse me, Izuku-sama, but are we going there to help him, said Cheyenne. I am only interested in saving my uncle, and this is a good opportunity to get subjects. Don't you agree, said Izuku as he made a gate. Meanwhile at USJ. Oh no, this thing is too strong, like All Might. My quirk isn't working, said Aizawa as the bird creature was holding his head down. I am sorry, Izuku. Inko, forgive me, thought Aizawa. Just then a portal appears in the middle of USJ, causing everyone to stop what they were doing. Then Kokutis, Demiurge, Shaltir, Albedo, Cheyenne, Sui, and Izuku came out of the portal. Kirojiri. Who are they? Shigaraki. I don't know, said Kirojiri. Who are you? Asked Shigaraki. Sui. You. and your group know what to do, said Izuku as Sui and his group went to do their assignment. Are you deaf or something? I'm talking to you, said Shigaraki. Izuku then went straight toward the Nomu, kicking it away from Aizawa and crashing on the other side of USJ. Izuku then gave Aizawa a potion healing all his injuries. Sorry about this, uncle, said Izuku as he kicked Aizawa to where the rest of the students were. You broccoli-looking piece of trash, answer me when I'm talking to you, yelled Shigaraki. Oh, so you were the one making all that racket. I thought it was a mosquito, said Izuku as Shigaraki was now angry. Noma, kill him, said Shigaraki as Nomu emerged from where it crashed and went straight for Izuku as it reared its arm back ready to punch Izuku in the head as the Nomu then moved its arm forward ready to punch Izuku in the head only for it to be blocked by Kokutis with one hand. How dare you try to lay a hand on Izuku-sama, said Kokutis as he head butted the Nomu, causing it to back off a bit. Kokutis capture that Nomu, or whatever it's called. I wish to conduct experiments on it, said Izuku. As you wish, Izuku-sama, said Kokutis as he quickly bowed to Izuku before turning in the direction of the Nomu. You should feel honored that Izuku-sama has taken an interest in you since you fight with no weapons and fight with both fists. I will do the same, said Kokutis as he planted his halberd to the ground. Come at me, entertain, Izuku-sama, said Kokutis. Nomu, kill this thing, said Shigaraki as Nomu charged at Kokutis. Nomu went to punch Kokutis in the face, only for Kokutis to block it with his left hand. The Nomu then tried to punch him in the stomach, only to be blocked again. Kokutis then grabbed the Nomu's left arm and twisted it as the Nomu tried to resist, but failed. Kokutis then headbutted the Nomu again, causing it to stubble as Kokutis continued to attack Nomu. Kokutis then right-hooked Nomu, grabbed its head, and knees it in the face, causing it to break. Kokutis then raised his hand and made a fist and slammed Nomu to the ground, causing a small crater to form underneath. What a disappointment, said Kokutis as he was about to freeze the Nomus's body, but Nomu got an uppercut Kokutis with its head only to stun Kokutis. A little looks like this may be fun after all, said Kokutis as grabbed Nomu's face and punched it in the stomach as Nomu also punches Kokutis in his side. Then they started to trade punches rapidly as their fists collided, causing massive shockwaves through USJ. Kokutis is all might. While Kokutis was fighting Nomu, Albedo, Cheyenne, Shuna, and Shaltir nodded their heads. Excuse us, Izuku-sama, said Cheyenne. You don't have to call me Izuku-sama. After all, we are lovers, said Izuku as he was blushing. And so we're the four of them. Well, Izuku, if you allow it, we're going to talk to some insects, said Shaltir. All right, but do not kill, at least not yet, said Izuku as the four of them left to find their prey. Demiurge, make sure no interference, said Izuku as Demiurge nodded. You shall not move a muscle, said Demiurge as all the villains in the area couldn't move an inch. That's better, said Izuku as he continued to watch the fight. Somewhere in USJ, Izumi, Katsumi, and Shota were finishing the last of the villains in the area. All right, that should be the last one. Come on, we have to help the others, said Izumi as Katsumi and Shota nodded. I don't think that's going to be possible, said Shuna as she and the others were behind them. The three of them turned around and faced them. Who are you extras, said Katsumi as she was getting a fighting stance. Wait, I know you too, said Izumi. What are you talking about, asked Shota. They were on the news, but more importantly, they were with Izuku. Tell me, what did you do to my brother, said Izumi. Oh, we didn't do anything that was on you and your group doing. You drove him to do that, said Shine. You're lying. We didn't do anything, said Shota. Oh, really? If I recall, you all beat and insulted him every day of his life, said Shuna as her eyes glowed red. We only did that to protect him. Once he finds out it was for his own good, he will forgive us, said Katsumi. Then the four of them started to laugh at the response. Ha ha. Oh, please, he already knows everything about your stupid plan, said Shaltir. What he does since when, said Izumi in shock. Oh yes, since the beginning, but we didn't come here to talk to insects. We came here to hurt you for causing our lover the pain he had to endure up until now, said Albedo. Wait, what do you mean by lover, said Shota as she and the other two thought they heard wrong. The four of them smiled at this. Well, to put in simple terms, we took his virginity, said Shuna as the three girls had their eyes covered by their hair. Your line T. That not true, said Shota. Then let me show you, said Shuna as she cast a spell, and the three of them saw what happened last night. Then the three of them launched themselves towards them. "You're going to pay for that," said Katsumi, as she was ready to fire an explosive at them, only for Albedo to grab her by the head and slam Katsumi to the ground. "Katsumi!" yelled Shota as she sends eyes towards Albedo, only for a wall to appear as Shota looked and saw Shuna was the one who created it. She then felt pain as Shaltir clawed at her back. "You should worry about yourself," said Shaltir as she wiped the vital fluid off her fingers. "Get away from her," yelled Izumi as tried to save Shota, but was interrupted as Cheyenne was right in front of her, unleashed a barrage of punches, and then gave one final punch to Izumi's face. Izumi was sent skidding across the ground until she stopped and lay on her back as she coughed out from the damage she has taken. "You're lucky I held back her," said Cheyenne. "Pathetic, and you three claim to be strongest," said Albedo as she kicked Katsumi in the stomach as she was now facing the ground. "Unfortunately, we can't kill you," said Albedo as she grabbed Katsumi's arm. "So here is the next best thing," said Albedo as she put her foot on Katsumi's back and pulled her arms with little effort, dislocating her shoulders. "I," yelled Katsumi in tremendous pain. Albedo then stomped on Katsumi's right leg, breaking it. As the sound of her leg bone being snapped could be heard, Katsumi screamed in pain. Shota tried to look away, but Shaltir grabbed her head and made her watch as her friend was being tortured. "Who gave you permission to look away? You candy cane this with the two necks," said Shaltir as she and the others were smiling. Middle of USJ. As the fight dragged on between Kokutis and Nomu with Izuku, "Got annoyed. How much longer is this going to take? I have other stuff to deal with back home," said Izuku. "Haha, your henchman can keep punching Nomu, but it won't work. Nomu has shock absorption and regeneration," said Shigaraki in a confident voice. "Thank you for telling me Nomus's weakness, dumbass," said Izuku as he turned to Kokutis. "Kokutis, did you hear that? Make it your girl and finish this," said Izuku as Nomu tried to punch Kokutis in the face with its right hand, only for Kokutis to catch it as Nomu tried it again with it left, but Kokutis caught it, as well understood. "Izuku-sama," said Kokutis as unfolded his other arms. "You were a good punching bag, but playtime is over," said Kokutis as he soon unleashes a barrage of punches to Nomus. Exposed front. As Kokutis continued punching Nomu, it was getting covered in ice until final Nomu was encased in ice. Kokutis went towards Izuku and bowed. "Forgive me, Izuku-sama, for taking so long," said Kokutis as Izuku sighed. "Okay, just make sure you don't make a habit," said Izuku as Kokutis then went to retrieve his weapon. "You cheater, what did you do?" yelled Shigaraki, only for Izuku to ignore him. "Now then, Sui and his group should be finished right about now," said Izuku as Sui and his team returned. "Izuku-sama, we have completed our task and brought the villains and student back here," said Sui as he and his group bowed to Izuku. "Excellent work, Sui, but what happened to them?" said Izuku as he points to the two girls. One had an AUX cord on her earlobes, the other one was covering herself with a cloth, and a boy Hao's face looked stupid. "From what I could gather, the villains had the boy hostage, and the only way he would release him is if the two girls over there service him and his companions," said Sui. "I see," said Izuku as he brought out his sword and started cutting the villains as vital fluids started spewing out onto the floor and some other villains. Izuku then swung his sword, removing the stains on the blade. "Then that means that they are not qualified to join my kingdom," said Izuku. "You so-called heroes can go join your friends," said Izuku, as the students did not want to anger him. Unfortunately, there were two of them who didn't listen. "Deku, what are you here?" yelled Bakugo. Izuku just ignored him. "Hey, answer when we were talking, you nerd," said Shoto as Cheyenne, Shuna, Shaltir, and Albedo appeared. "So how did it go?" asked Izuku. "It was over pretty quick. They were weaker than expected," said Albedo as she made a gate appear where the students were and pop out Izumi and Katsumi and shot with multiple bruises and broken bones. "Well, the good thing is you had fun," said Izuku as he gave the four of them a kiss on the cheek, to which the four of them blushed. "Then all the villains that were knocked out regain consciousness, Demiurge, if you please," said Izuku, as nodded. "Prostrate yourselves," said Demiurge, as all the villains were forced to kneel. "I believe they are ready to hear what you have to say." "Izuku-sama," said Cheyenne, as Izuku walked forward. Izuku cleared his throat. "Firstly, I bet you are all wondering who I am. Well, to answer that question, I am justice, I am order, I am the one who will create true peace." I am the one who will rule over all, for I am the supreme ruler, Izuku Midoriya, and I came here to offer you all a second chance," said Izuku. As some look at him questionable, I bet you are all wonder, what does he mean by second chance? Well, I can tell that some of you didn't want to be villains, but rather heroes, or someone who wanted a normal life, but it was taken away all because of your powers, said Izuku. What I mean by this is society makes you what you are today all, because you were born with something that was out of your control. I also know what it means to be an outcast, to suffer the discrimination and humiliation of those incompetent fools, for who are they to decide what we will become? For those fools do not see your potential, but I do, said Izuku, as some of the villains were memorized by his words. So I ask you to join me, join my kingdom, so that we may change this world, so that people like us no longer have to suffer the way we have, and no longer will you hide in the shadows of society. No longer will you have to worry about pursuits. No longer will you have to suffer for your mistakes, for I offer you a chance to chase your dreams and make it a reality, said Izuku as he looked at Demiurge and nodded. You are free to move, said Demiurge, as the villains got up from the ground. Gate, said Izuku, as a gate appeared. Through this gate lays your second chance, and once you pass, you swear your loyalty to me and the kingdom. But know this, if you ever betray me, you will suffer a fate worse than death, said Izuku. All of the villains look at each other, and some of the students were amazed by Izuku's words. Then some of the villains started to make their way towards Izuku. Will I get a fresh start? Asked one of the villains. Yes, you will, but it is up to you to make up for your wrongdoing, said Izuku, as the villain then bowed to him. I swear my loyalty, said the villain as he passed through the gate. Soon more than half the villains passed through the gate. Izuku then looked at the remaining villains. So the rest of you have chosen death. Remove them from my sight, said Izuku, as his subordinates started killing the villains. Kurogiri knew they would die if they stayed there. Teleported him and Shigaraki away. Puss, said Izuku, as his subordinates finished killing the villains. Unfortunately, two have escaped. Would you like for us to pursue them? Izuku-sama asked. So we know they know what will happen if they cross me, said Izuku as he walked up the stairs. Besides, I have some business with a certain some before we leave, said Izuku, as was now in front of a beaten Izumi. Izuku then grabbed Izumi by the neck and hoisted her up. Oni-chan, said Izumi in a weak voice, only for Izuku's grip to tighten on her neck, causing her shock. You don't get to say that. You only know how to cause pain and misery and never once treated me a brother. As I recall, you said, I bring shame to the Yagi name. Well, looks like the roles are reversed now. But there's just one thing I have to do before I go, said Izuku, as he punched Izumi in the stomach with his other hand. Izuku then released Izumi as she dropped to the ground. Izumi yelled Izumi as she was twitching and spamming on the ground as the others watched in horror. Soon Izumi's hair turned from green to blonde, her eyes color turned blue, and her freckles are gone. There, my work here is done, said Izuku as he was walking down the stairs. What did you do to her? Asked a scared invisible girl. I no longer wanted to be related to her by blood, so I changed her DNA. Now she is officially the daughter of Trashmite, and a slot I got DNA from an alleyway, said Izuku as he and his subordinates were leaving. Just then the doors of USJ burst open, revealing Trashmite and the teachers and principal of UA. Have no fear, for we are here, said Trashmite as he and the others looked around only to see bodies of villains on the ground. Well, if it isn't the cavalry, you're a little late, aren't you? Said Izuku. Izuku, said Trashmite in shock. Wow, so the Dumbo actually knows my name, said Izuku as his subordinates were entering the portal. I would love to stay and beat the ever-living hell out of you, but I have more important thing to do, so see you, said Izuku, as gave Trashmite the finger. Oh, and Nizu, said Izuku as Nizu looked at him. Next time we meet, you will learn the truth, said Izuku as Trashmite tried to catch him, but disappeared into the gate. UA infirmity. Izumi, Katsumi, and Shoto were laying in bed covered in body casts as Nizu, Trashmite, and Aizawa were watching over them. How are they? Recovery girl asked Nizu as a small old woman with a syringe for a cane bad. I am afraid they suffered some intense injuries. For what I can tell, they were being tortured and their attackers were enjoying it, said recovery girl. What about Izumi? Why does she look like that? Asked Trashmite as recovery girl looked at him in annoyance before going over picking up a clipboard. To be honest, I don't know how Izuku did, but he changed her DNA completely, said recovery girl. What do you mean? Asked Nizu. Well, it means that she is no longer related to Izuku. Inko and Hisashi by blood, and she is now the biological daughter of All Might and some random woman who is a prostitute, said Recovery Girl. Just then the alarms go off, and Trash Might, Aizawa, and Nizu, who was on Aizawa's shoulder, rush to the monitor room. As they arrived, the rest of the teachers were there. What happened? Asked Aizawa. Someone broke through the front gate. We putting on the monitor now, said Power Loader, as the teachers looked at the monitor only to see Izuku looking at the camera. Hey, Nizu, let's have that talk now, shall we? Said Izuku. Interrogation room in UA. Izuku is sitting in a chair with quirk-canceling handcuffs. Inside the room with Trash Might, Aizawa are on the left side, and Midnight and Nizu are on the right side. Izuku was looking at the room until looked at Aizawa. Hey, Uncle, how are those injuries? Sorry for kicking that hard, said Izuku. I would be in a body cast, but thanks to you, I feel good as new, and it's okay, replied Aizawa. Now then, it's Midoriya, interrupted Izuku. Okay, Midoriya, you said back at USJ that you would reveal the truth, and what truth would that be? Asked Nizu. Before we continue with this discussion, I'm waiting for two people to show up, said Izuku. Who are these two individuals? Asked Nizu as the door opened, revealing Detective Tsukauchi and a green hair and eyes woman in her 30s wearing casual clothes. Hello, Mom, said Izuku as he smiled. Inko tried to hug him, only to be stopped by Trash Might. Inko, don't go near him, he is dangerous, said Trash Might. Izuku, are these the two you were waiting for? Asked Nizu. Yes, because the detective can use his quirk to confirm my tale, and the reason why I wanted my mom here is to see what a piece of trash Trash Might is, said Izuku. Now, Nizu, do you know how quirkless people are being treated? Asked Izuku. We do know that they are being harassed and mistreated, said Nizu. Oh, you don't even know the half of it, Nizu, said Izuku. What do you mean? Asked Nizu. Ever since I was diagnosed quirkless, my life has been filled with nothing but misery and despair, said Izuku. Everywhere I went, I was treated like the plague. No one wanted anything to do with me at school. I was a punching bag, said Izuku as he unbuttoned his suit and showed them all the scars he had accumulated over the years, leaving them speechless. It wasn't better at home either, said Izuku as he was buttoning his shirt back up. What do you mean, sweetie? Asked Inko. This idiot never made me a plate of food. I had to eat the leftovers he threw away in the dumpster, said Izuku as Inko was shocked by this. Wait, what about the meals I left for you? Asked Inko. He gave them to Izumi, said Izuku as Inko looked at Trash Might in anger. How could you do this to my son? Yelled Inko in anger. Nizu then looked at the detective. Is he telling the truth? Asked Nizu as the detective only nodded. Oh, he isn't the only one that caused me so much pain. Remember my scars? Well, the one who gave me them were Izumi, the Bakugo twins, and the Todoroki twins, said Izuku. The whole room was silent. Not surprised that you're shocked by this. After all, that school made no report about my bullying, said Izuku. Why did you not report them, or that school for that matter? Said Aizawa. What good would that do? They would just let it be, because in the eyes of society, I was nothing, and that is when it came to me, said Izuku. What did? Asked Nizu. The society we live believe that your worth is determined by the powers you are born, and so many people like me are suffering because of this, and that is why I will change society, and it believes entirely, and if they don't agree, they will pay the price, said Izuku. How many people have died because of your idea? Asked the detective. I don't know. Do you keep track of all the insects you killed? Said Izuku. Oh, and by the way, the power I wield isn't a quirk, said Izuku as he used his steel thread to immobilize everyone except his mom. As I said, I came here to reveal the truth. Nothing more. You might want to keep those pieces of trash, because a war is coming, Nizu, a war that will change everything, said Izuku as he went to his mom and whispered in her ear before a gate appeared behind him. Oh, and thank for the gift, by the way, said Izuku as he was holding the quirks, canceling handcuffs before disappearing into the gate. As Izuku left, the string disappeared, releasing everyone. Is everyone okay? Asked Nizu as everyone nodded, only to hear a slap. Everyone turned around, and Inko was standing in front of Trash Might, who was holding his cheek. How could you do that to my son? He looked up to you, and this is how you repay him, said Inko. I didn't know, said Trash Might. Of course you didn't know. You never paid attention to him or his life. You were quirkless like him, and now you gave the only thing he ever wanted to a villain, said Inko. Inko, she is Trash Might, tired to talk. She is not my daughter, not anymore, interrupted Inko as she was headed to the door. Where are you going? Asked Trash Might. I'm going to get the divorce papers ready, said Inko. I will make sure he signs them, said Nizu. But sir, you trash might try to speak. Oh yes, I can. You made Izuku suffer all. Because he was quirkless, I thought you would understand more than anybody, but I was wrong. You were just like your father, said Nizu. Inko then tried to walk out the door, but was stopped by Trash, Might holding her hand. Inko, please give me another chance, groveled Trash, Might, only for Inko to use her quirk on her hand and punched in the face. Trash Might crashed into the wall embedded in it. It's Mrs. Midoriya, to you, said Inko, as she closed the door. Nizu, what do we do about those 5? Asked Aizawa. They will be put on a tight leash, and if they don't follow the rules we place for them, we send them to Tartarus for life. Said Nizu. What about the sports festival? Asked Midnight. It will continue as planned. We don't want the students to panic act, as everything is normal, said Nizu as the teachers nodded. Can someone take him to Recovery Girl? Said Nizu as he pointed at the unconscious Trash Might. Meanwhile, as Inko left UA, she called her lawyer to get the divorce papers ready as soon as possible. She then went to the old park where she would bring Izuku and Izumi when Hisashi was alive. As she looked around, she remembered all fun they had together as tears started to fall down her face, wishing for that day to never end. I was a fool for marrying that Trash. Maybe things would have been different if I never met him, said Inko. Just then Sui appears in front of Inko, startling her. Forgive me, I didn't mean to frighten you, said Sui as he kneels. It's quite all right, said Inko as she composed herself. So are you the person my son was taking about? Asked Inko. Yes, ma'am, my name is Sui, and I will take you to Izuku-sama whenever you are ready, said Sui. All right, let us go, said Inko as Sui grabbed her shoulder and teleported into the throne room. As they arrived, Inko was shocked at how amazing the throne room looked. I know, I was quite shocked with how it turned out, said Izuku as Inko turned around to see her son. Hey mom, said Izuku as Inko ran to him and hugged him. I'm so sorry you had to go through that all your life, said Inko as Izuku hugged her back as he tried not to cry. After a few minutes had passed, they stopped hugging. Izuku, why didn't you tell me what was happening to you? Asked Inko. It's because your work was more important. You helped people get back on their feet when they lost everything. I didn't want to be a bother, said Izuku. Oh, Izuku, my work may be important, but that doesn't mean that it's more important than you, said Inko as she hugged him. All right, enough of this mushy stuff. I still need to show you around, said Izuku as Inko stopped hugging him and smiled. All right, lead the way, said Inko as Izuku showed her around the castle. Inko was amazed at how everything looked, the respect people gave him. As they were about to exit the castle, Inko, not seeing Gobta cleaning the floor with a toothbrush, and accidentally stepped on his back. Oh my, I am sorry. I didn't see you there, said Inko as she bowed. Gobta looked at her and had hearts in his eyes. It's no problem at all. In fact, if you want to step on me again, I will be more than willing. You can even insult him. Before Gobta could say more, Izuku kicked him away, sending him into the sky. Keep going, mom, said Izuku with a smile, as she was confused by what just happened, but decided to follow Izuku outside. As they walked outside the castle, she was amazed by how stunning it looked. She then noticed a man with red hair and another one with glasses wearing an orange suit. What are they doing over there? Izuku asked Inko. Oh, well, when I was at USJ, I recruited these people who used to be villains. Benimaru and Demiurge are seeing what each person is suited for based on their quirk and knowledge, said Izuku. There are some people I want you to meet, but let's see the capital first, said Izuku nervously as they walk around seeing what his kingdom had to offer, from the houses being built to food being prepared. I know, it's not much, right? But in time the streets will be filled, people smiling and laughing without being judged, said Izuku. I know you will make that dream a reality, Izuku, said Inko with a smile on her face. Thank mom, said Izuku as he smiled back. Well, let's head back, shall we? Said Izuku as Inko nodded. They made their way back to the throne room where Cheyenne, Shuna, Albedo, and Shaltir are waiting. Oh, how are these lovely ladies? Izuku asked Inko. Mom, I like you to meet Shun, Cheyenne, Albedo, and Shaltir. They're my lover, said Izuku as he looked at his mom. How was shocked? You mean these four are your? Inko tried to speak. Yep, said Izuku while blushing. Then the four of them walked towards Inko. It's a pleasure to finally meet you in person, said Shuna as bowed. Yes, likewise, said Inko, still in shock. All right, you can speak with them later. There is one more thing I need to show you, said Izuku as he and Inko left and walked down the hall. So what did you think of my kingdom, mom? Asked Izuku amazingly. I knew you would one day do something big, and so did father, said Inko as Izuku smiled. While we are here, said Izuku as they stopped and ate in front of a door. Mom, I think you better prepare yourself. said Izuku. Don't worry, sweetheart. After you told me you have 4 lovers, nothing surprises me at the moment, said Inko as Izuku opened the door. As it swings open, Inko couldn't believe what she saw as tears started escaping her eyes and dropped to her knees while putting her hand over her mouth, because standing in front of the man how stole her heart and gave her life joy. Hello, Inko, it's been a while, said a man with black hair and diamond-shaped freckles, otherwise known as Hisashi Midoriya. Hisashi, is T that really you? Asked Inko as she was still in shock. Yeah, it's me, said Hisashi as walked to her and gave her his hand. Inko was hesitant at first, believing that once she touches him, he will disappear. She then took his hand as he helped her up. She hugged him as if her life depended on it as they looked at each other and kissed. I leave if 2 want some alone time, said Izuku as they separated. How is this possible? Asked Inko. You can thank our son for that, said Hisashi as she looked at Izuku. Having the powers of the 2 most powerful being in existence does have its perks, said Izuku. Well, I will be leaving. I have stuff to do, and you guys probably want some time to yourself, said Izuku as he left. Oh, by the way, the room is soundproof, said Izuku as he left. Izuku yelled his parents as he left with a smile on his face. Izuku then made his way to the throne room. You seem to be happier than usual, said Cheyenne. That's because I finally got my family back together, said Izuku as he sat on his throne now. Then what's the situation on the sports festival? Asked Izuku. It will continue as planned. No changes have been made, said Albedo. Nizu might be smarter than your average insects, but he has made a grave error. Soon we will see who to recruit for my kingdom, said Izuku. Just then Sui appears. Sui, what news do you bring? Asked Izuku as Sui bowed. Izuku-sama. I was patrolling the area when I stumbled upon what looks like illegal traffickers who are using the surrounding forest to use it for a trade route, said Sui as Izuku eyes glowed green. So these insect things that they can come to my domain and use it as they see fit, said Izuku as he clenched his fist. Summon the Pleiades, said Izuku as Sui went to go get them. After a few minutes had passed, Sui returned with the Pleiades. You called for us, Izuku-sama, asked Yuri Alpha. Yes, there are insects in my domain. I want you to capture them. If some are killed, so be it, and use whatever means necessary. I would send Sui to it, but he is busy on another assignment, said Izuku. We understand, Izuku-sama. We will not fail you, said Yuri Alpha. If I may speak, Izuku-sama, asked Lupus Regina. Yes, what is it? Asked Izuku. Where would you like for us to place them? Asked Lupus Regina. Take them to the torture room. I wish to know every secret they have, said Izuku. But would it be quicker to control them so that they tell us everything? Said Lupus Regina. Lupus Regina, mind your tongue. Do not question Izuku, said Albedo. Yes, forgive Izuku-sama, said Lupus Regina. It's all right. And to answer your question, Lupus Regina, where would the fun be if we did that? Said Izuku with a smile on his face. Imagine Izuku somewhere in the forest. Come on, get that stuff in the vehicle already, said a muscular man with a safari hat. Hey, Jeef. The J makes an H sound. We should get out of here soon. I got a bad feeling about this place, said a man holding an AK-47. You're just being paranoid. There is no one out here. But we now stop talking and get the cargo ready. We leave in a few minutes, said the Jeef. Unknown to them that those few minutes will be the last time they would see the outside world and freedom. Oh, we're good to go, Jeef, said one of the lackeys. Good. Let's get out of here and deliver the goods, said the Jeef as they started to drive on for their tires to explode. What happened? Asked the Jeef as they all got out of their vehicles. Sorry, gentlemen, but you leaving is no longer possible, said Yuri Alpha as the Pleiades stood on top of the trees looking down on them. Who are you people, and who said we can't leave? Asked the Jeef. Why should we respond to an insect? Said Narbor. What did you call me? Said the Jeef. It seems I cannot hear. Well, what a shame. Said Solution. Kill them, said the Jeef enraged as his men opened fire on them. How did you like that? Said the Jeef as Yuri said they attacked us first. I just responded to it, said Delta as she lowered her gun. Now, then let us do the task we were ordered. We don't want to keep Izuku-sama waiting now, do we? Said Yuri as they surrounded the illegal traffickers while easily dodging their attacks and knocking some of them out as they tried to hold back, but killed some of them due to finding out how much force was needed to subdue them, and in Toma, how decided to eat one of them as a snack, leaving nothing but bones. The Jeef couldn't believe his eyes as his entire crew was wiped out by just 6 women. Soon Yuri Alpha was walking to him as he got his pistol out. Stay away from me, you monster, said the Jeef as he was shooting at her only to see the bullets disappear. Then Yuri was in front of him. Sir, I believe these belong to you, said Yuri, as she opened her hand only for the Jeef to see the bullets he fired drop to the ground. He then fainted from the shock. Our work here is done. Take them to the torture room. As for the dead, I will put in the report for Izuku-sama, said Yuri as the others nodded, taking the ones who were alive. 1 hour later. On my head, said the Jeef as he tried to move his body, only to find out he can't. As he opened his eyes, he saw that he was retrained and looked to the side only to see what was left of his crew restrained as well. Oh, you're awake, how nice, said Yuri as she was reading a book. Where am I? Asked the Jeef. You and your crew are in the torture room, said Yuri as she placed the book down. Now, then shall we get started? Said Yuri as she clapped her hand, and the room lights up onto his horror and see many torture devices. Don't worry, we will be gentle, said Yuri with a smile. Soon the room was filled with screams. It's been 4 hours since the Pleiades captured the illegal traffickers, and Izuku is walking towards the torture room while humming a tune. He then reached the torture room and entered. Ah, please kill me, yelled one of the illegal traffickers as Intoma ripped off his arm and started eating it. Then Solution cast healing magic on him, regenerating his arm. Ah, why would we do that? We are having so much fun, plus you haven't told us everything, said Solution with a smile on her face while blushing. Meanwhile, Lupus Regina was torturing another trafficker with a rusty pair of scissors. I told you what I know, please stop, pleaded she. Then healed him. You know, this is getting a bit boring, said Lupus Regina next to her. Oh, I know, let's see how many teeth I can pull out before you can't speak. Well, said Lupus Regina as she got some rusty pliers and opened his mouth as she tortured as he cried out in pain. If you think that hurts, just wait, we're just getting started, said Lupus Regina with a smile. Well, it seems you're all having fun, said Izuku as the Pleiades stopped what they were doing and bowed to Izuku. Don't mind me, I just came to see the results of your hard work, said Izuku as he looked around the room. Where Narberal and Delta? Asked Izuku. They are making sure we didn't miss anything and taking the vehicles to a remote location, said Yuri. What about the toxins they had? Asked Izuku. We are destroying as we speak, Izuku-sama, said Yuri. Good, so any news on who they are working for? Asked Izuku. Yes, Izuku-sama. Their leader told us they were employed by someone named Overhaul. The others, on the other hand, know nothing of value, said Yuri. I don't understand. You just needed me. Why torture my men as well? Said the Jeef, who had multiple bruises and cuts all over his body as vital fluid dripped onto the floor. Simple, this is retribution, said Izuku. Retribution for what? Said the Jeef as Izuku grabbed an iron rod and used his fire to heat it. For all the people who are dying of overdosing on this, among other things, such as killing people who you call snitches who are trying to make this world better. And let's not forget the police who risk their lives to get your product off the streets, all because of money, said Izuku as the rod started to turn red. It's not our fault that people want a little joy in their boring lives, said the Jeef. True, but you are responsible for the deaths of others, and that is why, said Izuku as he pushed the iron bar where the sun don't shine. I'm going to make every last one of you idiots suffer, yelled Izuku as the Jeef screamed at the top of his lung from the excruciating pain he was in. Then Izuku removed the iron rod from his nether region. Oh, we're just getting started, said Izuku as he unblinded him as dropped to the floor, holding his privates, well, what was left. The Jeef then tried to crawl away, only for Izuku to grab him by his hair, pick him up, then punched him in the stomach, causing him to cough out vital fluid, causing the Jeef to curl on the floor in pain. Then Izuku grabbed his right arm, then kicked the back of his elbow, causing the bone to break. Izuku grabbed him by his hair again. No, please have mercy, pleaded the Jeef with tears in his eyes, and he tried to get out of Izuku's grip with his left hand. Did you show the people you killed mercy? Said Izuku, not even looking at him, as he threw him to the wall. Izuku then used his sticky thread to lift him by his left arm. Time for a workout, said Izuku, as he started to punch him in the face repeatedly. As he was finished, his hands were messy as Yuri handed him a towel. Thank you, Yuri, said Izuku with a smile, causing her to blush. Not at all, Izuku-sama, said Yuri, as Izuku wiped his hand with the towel. He then snapped his fingers as the sticky thread vanished, and the Jeef fell to the floor. Well, that was fun, said Izuku with a smile, as the Jeef was barely alive. Make sure to get everything out of them, said Izuku as Yuri bowed. It will be done. And what would you like for us to do with them once we're done? Asked Yuri. Have them work in a mines. Kirobe and Kijin need a lot of minerals, said Izuku as he left the torture room. and started walking down the hall. So, is it done? Asked Izuku, as Sui as he appeared behind him. Yes, they will meet you in 3 days, Izuku-sama, said Sui. Well, let us prepare to welcome our guests, shall we? Said Izuku as Sui nodded before disappearing. This is going to be fun, said Izuku with a smile. Are you sure about this, master? Asked Shigaraki. Yes, I am Shigaraki, said a man with a suit and some type of respirator on his face. He is known as AFO. If he is as powerful as you say, he would be a valuable ally, said AFO as they were to meet their means of transportation to Izuku at a discreet location. They then arrived at the location only to see Yuri waiting. Good day, gentlemen. I trust you. Did I not bring that mist fellow with you? Said Yuri. Of course, I gave my word. Did I not? Said AFO. For your sake. I hope you did. My master doesn't like anyone who goes against his wishes, said Yuri. So how are we supposed to meet him? Said Shigaraki as Yuri walked towards them. Like this, said Yuri, as a teleportation circle appeared underneath them and transported them inside the castle. This way, if you please, said Yuri as they headed to the throne room. On the way, Shigaraki and AFO were amazed by the architecture of the place. They were now in front of the doors that lead to the throne room. I advise you not to anger or upset my master in any way if you value your lives, said Yuri as they entered the throne room. To their surprise, they were not the only ones there, as they saw a man wearing a dark green jacket with purple fur at the top with a black bottom shirt and pants, along with a plague doctor mask and white gloves and shoes. He is known as Overhaul, who is the leader of the Shaiha Saikai, a Yakuza organization comprised of villainous quirk users. Next to him is a man wearing a striped suit with a green button shirt with a green tie. He is known as Dr. Doofenshmirtz, Destro, the founder and leader of the Meta Liberation Army, and is regarded as one of Japan's greatest villains in history. Izuku-sama, I have brought them, said Yuri as she bowed. Thank you, Yuri, you may leave now, said Izuku, who is surrounded by his subordinates on his left and right side of him. Yuri nodded, then left the throne room. Gentlemen, welcome to my home, said Izuku. It's a pleasure. Why have you brought us here? Asked Overhaul as he interrupted Destro. Why, you don't like to beat around the bush, do you? Said Izuku. Very well, but before that there is something I wish to know, said Izuku. What would that be? Asked FO. Simple. I wish to know what your goals are for conquering this country, said Izuku. Why should we when there is nothing to gain? Said Overhaul as Shine grabbed the handle of her sword, but stopped as Izuku put his hand up. All right, how about this? You all tell me your goals, and I will tell you mine, and you all get to leave here with something precious, said Izuku. All right, I accept your proposal, said AFO, as the other two agreed. Very well. Let's start with your Overhaul. What is your goal? Said Izuku. My goal is to rid Japanese society of quirks and return humanity to the way it was before the spread of quirks, when life and crime was much more manageable for criminals like the Yakuza, said Overhaul as AFO and Destro were thinking of ways to destroy him. Our objective is to destroy the society of pro-heroes and create a new one with us at the top of the world, filled with nothing but chaos, where the stronger survive and the weak perish, said Shigaraki. Hey, Handfet, I asked your master, not you, so why don't you shut and let the grown-ups talk, said Izuku as Shigaraki was about to charge at him. That enough, Shigaraki, said AFO. But master, said Shigaraki, I said that is enough. Now do as I say, said AFO. Yes, master, said Shigaraki as he stands down, but glared at Izuku, who just smiled in response. What about you, Destro? Asked Izuku. My goal is to undo the suppression of quirks forcibly imposed on society by the government, and to let people use their powers in daily living as they saw fit, said Destro. All right, we told you our goals, now you tell us yours, said Overhaul. Soon they saw Izuku shaking, then Izuku. Then he started to laugh. Ha ha ha, what's so funny? Asked an irritated Overhaul. Haha, I'm sorry. I just thought it was funny how idiotic your goals are. I couldn't help but laugh. Honestly, a child could have come up with something better, said Izuku. All four of them were now enraged by the comment. Oh, yeah, well, how about you tell us yours, said Shigaraki. Very well. I did promise you all. After all, I will keep it simple, so even you can understand, said Izuku as Shigaraki was losing his patience. You see, why your goals are focused on this country mine are on a global scale, said Izuku. Wait, you don't mean what I think you are implying, are you? Said Destro. Yes, my goal is total world domination, said Izuku as there was silence in the room until Shigaraki started laughing. Ha ha ha. And you called our goals idiotic, And how are you supposed to take over the world, haha, said Shigaraki as he noticed that he is the only one that laughed. Honestly, AFO, this child is going to be the next leader in my opinion. You made a poor choice, said Izuku as he looked down at Shigaraki. He is still learning in time. He will even surpass me, said AFO, pathetic. Well, to answer your question, child, something along the lines of this, said Izuku as he released a bit of his haki. All of them then crashed into the ground, unable to move. What is that? This P power, said Destro as he tried to speak. This is only a fraction of the power I have at my disposal, and all three are supposed to be big shots. And you can't even handle this, pathetic, said Izuku as he suppressed his haki. All of them slowly got up from the small crater they were in. There are only two reasons why I brought you all here. The first one was to find out your goals, said Izuku. What is your second reason? Asked Overhaul. My second reason is to warn you all to never get in my way, or you will learn the true meaning of despair and fear, said Izuku with his eyes glowing green. You can leave now, we are done here, said Izuku as he sat back down on his throne. Wait, didn't you say we get to leave here with something precious? Said Overhaul. You are leaving here precious life, are you not? Said Izuku as a part of a wall starts to ripple and a small black suit with a plague mask, otherwise known as Mimic, came out of the wall and headed for Izuku. You monster, don't look down on us, said Mimic as he changed to his true form and was ready to make Izuku suffer. Mimic, stop, yelled Overhaul, but it was too late as Izuku snapped his fingers and an ice spike arose from the ground and pierced Mimic in the stomach as he coughed out vital fluid. Soon the ice spike disappeared and Mimic dropped to the floor on his back. Boss, help me, said Mimic as vital fluid escapes out of his mouth. He had his hand out to Overhaul as Izuku got up from his throne and was now in behind Mimic and placed his foot on his neck. Yuri, told you not to make me upset, and I told you to come alone. This is the price you pay, said Izuku as he put weight on his foot and twisted it, breaking Mimic's neck, killing him. You just wasted your only warning. Next time, I am coming for all of you, said Izuku as Overhaul wanted to kill Izuku, but knew he couldn't. Well, goodbye, gentlemen, said Izuku as teleportation circles appeared underneath them, and they were transported back where they were supposed to meet him. Now, then let us get ready for the sports festival, shall we? Said Izuku. Yes, Izuku-sama, said his subordinates as they left. Prepare now, then time to add more to my ranks, said Izuku as he went to Mimic's body and touched it, making it black goop envelope the entire body as it expanded and a death knight appeared. Let's get this party started, said Izuku as walked back on his throne smirking. So, this was the end of part 1 of this series. Stay tuned for next part of this series, and if you like this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Until next time.